All right, so we had a really good day in our portfolio today. Today's episode, we're going to cover quite a lot. So overall, we had a good gain. We gained about 4%. Let's take a look and see what the market did overall. I don't think it did anywhere near that. All right, so 0.19% basically break even for Dow, 0.28 basically break even for NASDAQ, and 0.04, I mean, that is break even for NASDAQ. So we looked at some of the movers today. We're going to talk about some, looking at our chart and some of where the movers are. And we're going to talk about some COVID stuff, which is kind of crazy. But anyway, I was actually on a podcast today, one of my other podcasts that I have with a friend of mine, Al. And one of the things he was asking me about investing, because he said it's really not his wheelhouse and it's more mine. And I told him that, after about 2 weeks, Trump's not going to be in office and there's not going to be any lightning rod out there for people to focus on. And what's crazy is there's not really going to be anything that you can pivot off of. I think things are going to settle down. You're going to have Biden as president, whether that's good or bad, wherever you stand on that. But Biden's a Wall Street guy, and he's already talked about like having multiple big bills that are going to come in, and Wall Street paid him. I mean, they basically underwrote his presidential bid. So that's going to go into the market. When that goes in the market, you better be in the market. So I have no feeling at all that the market's going to go nothing but up. Does that mean we're going to have some down days between now and then? Sure, probably. We have down days after that, sure. But the trajectory is going to go up and up and up. So the big money to be made has not yet been made. So if you haven't yet invested, get started now. So with that being said, some big movers today. Soho, this is the one I just love. I don't know why I love it. There's something about this stock I really love. Went up about 11% today, 10%. Got up to 13% today, which is beautiful. And so that one's doing really good. Against that's more of a travel stock, hotel, things like that. Signet Jewelers, the one that blows me away, went up 10%, 9% today. And this one, I've sextupled my return. And I'm on pace to septuple it. I didn't even know that was a word. So it's crazy. I can't believe that this has done so well. And yet I only invested $1,000. Boy, if I had a time machine and go back, I'd probably put, 15 grand in this one. I put 15 grand in Tesla. No, I'll put 10 grand into this one, 10 grand in Tesla, and 10 grand in Bitcoin. But I'm glad it's going up. I just wish it was one of my bigger stocks that I did. I mean, who would have thought that a mall jewelry store would be leading the pack? It's just nuts. All right, PBF Energy, it's an oil stock, went up 10% today, and that's always great. Anytime oil stocks pop, that's a great sign for demand. Not all the stocks go up in unison. They didn't today, but that's always a good thing that we're looking at. And this went up 10% today, put us in the black. So who knows? I might keep it. I might sell it if we want to free up some money. But we shall see. Corsair Gaming, they do hardware for gaming consoles. They went up 7% today. This is a stock I'm just going to run with. I invested actually more money in Corsair than I did in Signet, which is funny and frustrating at the same time. But oh well. But we're going to let this one ride wherever it goes. This is not our typical COVID stock, but it was such a good opportunity we had to take it. Nikola went up again today, overall about 7%, 10% during the market. Again, I own more of Nikola than I do. I started with more Nikola than I do Signet. Again, crazy. This one's barely in the black, barely in the red, but we're going to let this one ride as well because Joe Biden's going to be president, and the Democrats have a history of underwriting electric vehicles and things like that. So they're trying to get rid of solar. They're trying to get rid of fossil fuels, which I think is stupid. I mean, let the market do it. Create such an amazing car. People don't want a gasoline car. Duh. But you'll see stocks like this jump from time to time and overall on a big track record. And we did see that today. Alrighty. So with that being said, let's take a look at some COVID numbers and then we'll get into our portfolio. So today, no deaths reported the prior day. One of the things I did notice, and we're going to call balls and strikes here, is I looked at the data and I just have a good statistics background. And so we look at the data and we have this huge second wave that hit for cases. But if you notice here, The trend line has been going up till about right here, and we start to see the trend go downward. So the question is, and this is overall new cases by day. So, it depends on how much you test. It's not a ratio. So first thing we say is, okay, how much testing is done? So in other words, did the testing go up to here and then all of a sudden we tested less and we got fewer cases? That wouldn't tell us anything. There's nothing to glean from that at all. But what happens if the total number of tests go up? And so we looked at that and we see the total test numbers go up, and yet the total cases went down. And so overall, we'll see, we'll take a look at the ratio in a little bit. Oh, I'll go down and take a look at the ratio now. So the ratio got up to 13%, and we start to see this drop. I mean, it got up to 13.5%. Well, I don't know why it's sitting here. 14.3%, and now it's down a little bit. So that's good. But we see the deaths go down. Deaths peaked right here, and we start to see it collapse down. Now, the question is it going to continue this trend where you killed a bunch of old people, but the cases here are the new cases? I wish we could take a look at these new cases and see them by age to see kind of what we can predict from them. Or are we expecting these cases here to turn into more deaths here? Time will tell, but so far we have a trend line going down. Unless we see something change, we presume that the deaths are going to go down, which is a very good thing. I mean, that's what should inform public policy. All right, so with that being said, we'll go to the hospitals. Again, hospital beds are about the same. COVIDs are being used more, which means you inverse that line, and the number of non-COVID hospital beds is plummeting, which means people don't want to be in the hospital. They're not going because they don't want to get COVID, which maybe it's good they don't go to the hospital. Maybe it means they're deferring something that's going to really hurt them later on. Who knows? But again, that's not a good sign. You don't want to see people, if they need to go to the hospital, they should be going anyway. And if these people are going that are new, you should see this approach the bed capacity. But right now we're at about 4,700, and we have about 1,200 free beds in the county. So we're still doing very, very well when it comes to beds. Hospitalizations in the week, it looks like we peaked and we're starting to see that go down. But again, very small sample size. We want to see the next couple weeks to see where it goes to really decide whether that is a trend or a blip. All right. All right, deaths, my favorite one. So I looked at this, and again, we have the same pattern. Everybody who dies has underlying health conditions. Again, it is the cruise ship passenger manifest, 87, 84, 83, 68, 93, 61. I mean, on and on. 70, 97 in Asian. This is probably a kung fu master is what I'm guessing. 97 male with underlying health conditions. That's the kung fu master. We're going to talk about that one. 88-year-old female, 80-year-old male. Then we go to some prior days. 73, 66. These are their kids. 91, 80, 88, 87, 83, 76. These are the people that are a couple years behind him in high school. 94, again, with the exception of the 67-year-old male, all underlying health conditions. But again, it's a 67-year-old male. Duh. All right, and then beyond that, all underlying health conditions. We have a 50-year-old male, so that's kind of, again, getting up there, but you'll have a blip in the radar when it comes to stats every now and then. But we got 102. There's your senior. There's your dad, your grandpa. 102 person by the border. We always looked at these stats before, and all the COVIDs by the border. So this person, 102 person gets COVID, and they're Hispanic and live by the border. That's curtains for them. Their younger brother, or younger sister, 99-year-old female, same area. 90-year-old, 93-year-old, got a 99-year-old Asian. Here's another Kung Fu master. 93-year-old male white. 90 male unknown. I'm not really sure what unknown ethnicity. I don't know if that just means it's Pete Davidson. I'm not really sure. They say unknown. So maybe that's a homeless person. I mean, if you're 90-year-old and homeless, that's fine. But you don't even know the region. That's weird. I mean, where did that person die? You don't even know that. Race and ethnicity. You don't know where they lived and what ethnicity. I don't know what that is. That looks like a shady stat right there. But overall, it's the same thing that we see there. So the reason that's important is we'll go to, let's see. So I decided to go and look at the vaccine rollout. And this is what's going to really cause more old people to die, right? So we look at deaths by age and gender. All of them are really old, definitely over 80. But let's take a look. Anything over 70, I mean, it's the big, broad swath of most of the deaths. And even I'd say 60 and above. Take a look at cases, look at deaths, and there's a big jump once you hit 50, but really a big jump once you hit 60 when it comes to a percentage. So we look at the COVID rollout, phase 1A, and this is California, but a lot of people have copied this one. It's the case in Florida. It's the case in, I think, New York. So it is non-clinical roles such as environmental services, patient transport, or interpretation. To kind of get interpretation, you're always going to be in front of them. So, and I imagine maybe they don't have a mask on. Who knows? Residents of skilled nursing facilities, which is really good. That's important. Assisted living facilities and long-term settings. So obviously that's really good because that's where Cuomo in New York killed everybody. But basically anybody through their work in a direct healthcare long-term setting. So it's basically just the doctors and nurses. But that could mean you're a 24-year-old phlebotomist, right? And you're going to get the disease before an 80-year-old, which is just moronic. Okay. So then we got subphase A. Basically, they do it based on the type of facility, location of facility, and attributes of individuals. Okay. This is a very nice way of being racist. Attributes of individuals. I hope they're not being racist. I should say that. But what is it? Can it mean their race? Like, what does that mean? People with one leg? I don't know. But that's kind of weird. That sounds kind of shady. That's a little murky statement there. I think they should be a little bit more upfront with what that means. All right, then B1. So you got all the people that are basically healthcare workers, they're going first. So if you're 80 years old, you're in the back of the line at this point. You're not getting jack, diddly, squat, and you're praying to God you don't get COVID. All right, B1. So once all the healthcare people are done, and you got to remember, this is done. This is like when all the people are done. Then we'll move on to B1. And then you got acute care, psychiatric, and correctional facility hospitals. Okay, this is horrible. This means that prisoners are going to get the vaccine before 80-year-olds. So if you have a grandfather or dad or whatever it is, and they're 80 years old, the prisoners are going to get them. The crazy people are going to get them. I mean, think about that. That is just nuts. Skilled nursing facilities, assisted living facilities in similar setting for older medically vulnerable individuals. That's fine. That makes sense in all the world. Paramedics, EMTs, and others providing emergency medical services. I'm just wondering why they're not up here, but whatever. They're down there. And then dialysis centers, which seems really odd. So like if your name hasn't been called yet, the guy who's getting dialysis is going to get it before you. So if you're 34 years old and you're getting dialysis, you're going to come before my 83-year-old dad, which is just stupid. All right. Intermediate care facilities for person in non-continuous nursing supervision. So this is people that go in and out of nursing facilities. They're going to get it at that point, which fine. I have no problem with that. Home health care and home supportive services, typically older people, a lot of older people, makes sense in the world. Community health workers, including promotoras. Now, I don't know what a promotora is. Let's go ahead and take a look at what the heck a promotora is. A promotora. Boom, boom, boom. Let's see. Promotora is a lifeline. Let's take a look and see what this means. Hopefully we don't have a paywall. Yeah, we have a paywall. Oh, I get it. Okay, so undocumented. So at this point, people who are undocumented, they're illegal aliens, they're going to be getting the disease. They're going to be getting people that work with illegal aliens, they're going to get it right there. Which, okay, fine. If you're doing all the other healthcare issues, it's lumping them in the same thing. So whatever. Public health field staff, I'm not really sure what that means. Primary care clinics. So it's like my doctors. Correctional facility clinics, geez. Again, prisons are going to get there earlier. and urgent care. Again, they're doctors. I have no problem with that necessarily. Lab workers, which is really odd because lab workers aren't going to have COVID patients coming in there, so I'm not really sure why they are in there. They should be definitely down there. Dental and oral hygiene clinics, you'd think they'd be moved up. I just went to my dentist the other day, and you're face to face with somebody breathing on you if you're a dentist. So if anything, they should be up like way near the top, right? And then pharmacy staff, which if you've seen my pharmacy, it looks like they're the bubble boy. I mean, they're about, and again, I have sensitivity for them as well. But then we get down to B and B2, and that's basically based on the location of the facility. And then we get to B3. And let's see. And then we have descending age in the following groups, 65 years or older. So it's not until you get to recommendation B3 does my 83-year-old father who had heart surgery in the past get this. I mean, that's just stupid. And then 55 to 64 and then younger than 55. I totally get that. That makes sense as far as right here. But you're going to tell me that 65 years and older should be B3 when you have dialysis centers and correctional facility hospitals be B1. Like, that's stupid, especially when you look at the death rates are just through the roof right here, right? And through the roof. And then everything we see here is the 99-year-olds, 85, 82. So this right here is going to get people killed. And this is what's going to have, the reason I bring it up is this is what's going to have the correction take a little bit longer. So you look at cruise stocks and things like this, and when you have public policy that totally mismanages, and it's a hodgepodge of an order, it's almost like you have a deck of cards perfectly in order, ace, king, queen, jack, 10, all the way down, and then you decide to shuffle the cards and issue out. If you're going to do that, it's going to take longer for things to go. So with that being said, the recovery as far as and the profits we get aren't going to come as fast as we want to. They're still going to come, don't get me wrong, but they're not going to come as fast as we want to. All right. So with that being said, we'll take a look at movement over the last couple days. Last 2 days, let's see, movement. Best performers, we'll start out with that. Blink charging against an EV stock. Biden's people love that. Signet has been blowing up. I cannot believe how much this is going. PBF, the oil stock today. Crestwood Equities, an oil stock. Soho, we talked about earlier, that's our travel stock, and then FANG is an oil stock. So we start to see a definite trend here. Halliburton is kind of a parallel to an oil stock. Oki's an oil stock. We start to notice that. All right, so we look at for 1 day. Oh, I'm not looking at just positives. All right, and then down, Ryanwood Hospitality Trust, and that was one I was looking at. I was looking at potentially buying. It went down 10%. I thought this might be a good opportunity to get in there because it's a total COVID type stock. But then I saw the upside is 1.3, and I'm like, yeah, it's not really worth it unless it totally craters. If it's got to go down 20 to 30%, and then I'll take a look at it with that current upside. Does it mean it's limited to 1.3? No, but that's the February 20th upside. Beyond that, NXTD, which is our cybersecurity stock, went down 10%. Upside doesn't really matter much because it's not much of a COVID stock. We already own it, but the only way I'd buy more of this is if it goes down to, let's say, negative 20%. We'd take advantage of that and lower our cost basis. All right, as far as for 1 day movement, basically today, Soho's the top performer. PBF, we talked about them. Venom's an oil stock. That's Diamondback. Is that not Diamondback? I forget which one that is. It's an oil stock for sure. Signet, Azul, which is the Brazilian airline. FANG, which is Diamondback Energy. Nikola's the EV. So it's ironic. You have the fossil fuel and the non-fossil fuel doing pretty well. Halliburton's a parallel stock. Helix Energy, we'll talk about that in a little bit, as an oil stock. And Crestwood Equities is an oil stock. So a lot of oil type stocks we see here moving up, which is a really good thing. Downward, not a big drop. Again, the market did pretty good today. TXMD, which is a biotech, and Iova, which is a biotech, went down. Past that, we're pretty much in our standard deviation. So nothing much to look at here. So overall, we did have a couple things happen. So our Helix oil stock hit $5 barely at the end of the day. So we sold that today, freed up some money. Beyond that, we're not really close to either AMC or Carnival Cruise Line selling, but we did put a limit order of Hall of Fame. And so specifically, this is the Football Hall of Fame. in Canton, Ohio, and properties around it, which is a huge tourist attraction, having grown up in Ohio. So with that being said, we took a look at the upside of that. It's basically sitting at 5.1. I went ahead and looked at the chart, and it got down to about 1.5 at its lowest in recent history. So I thought, okay, well, I was going to put it at 1.7, but it's too close to 1.88. I'm only going to buy this stock if it really leverages out. And I may change it, but I put it down as an order of 1.6. We put 2,000 shares because I definitely, with that kind of upside, I want to have the ability to make some money on it. I was going to put 1,000 shares, but I'm like, no, don't hedge your bet. We just sold Helix. Let's put some money in that if we can. I may change it to 1.7. We'll take a look. It may not ever get down there, but we will see. So overall, we're sitting here at basically 2.5 times profit. So we've more than tripled our money, on our way to quadrupling our money from what we've bought. We're basically at a point where we're going to double what our initial investment is in these stocks. And again, Signet is sitting here at 5.5 times profit, which is just insane. That's just absolutely nutso. Redwood Trust, we've tripled. PVAC, we've more than tripled. Every's about to triple, which is just a beautiful thing. Caesar's is in between tripling and quadrupling, or quadrupling and quintupling. Crestwood Equities between quadrupling, quintupling, and Azul's on the way to tripling. So the ones in the red, we have Ashford Hospitality Trust. I'd say if it goes down to 2.2, we'll buy it again. But we have a really good investment in that. So, the tendency is to leave it alone. Carnival Cruise Line's basically about broke even. Nicola's about broke even, and Next ID is one that we'll take a look at and potentially buy, but we're going to leave that alone. That's kind of a let her ride stock. And then ironically, Texas Hospitality has gone down. So we'll see. Typically, we've seen a lot of oil stocks go up. This one went down. I'm not really sure why, but we're just going to let this one ride. So overall, we're in a good spot. We are sitting here projected to be at about 290,000, and things are going in the right direction. So overall, we're sitting here at, 200 and where was that? 40% profit. So it's basically 100% doubling the profit, 200% tripling the profit, and we're 40% over that on the way to quadrupling our profit. So we're on our way, but the big money has still yet to be made. So if you haven't invested yet, make sure you get in. If you have any questions or things you want to cover, let me know, and I'll be glad to do so. So with that being said, I will see you tomorrow.
To get more information on the sales cheat code, go ahead and click on the subscribe button below. Also, down below in the video description, down there, there's a link that takes you to our website that gives you additional content, some additional freebies that we have, and gives you information on some programs that we have that have been proven to help people to make sales easy so that you can make the kind of money you want, live the lifestyle that you've always wanted, and not have to struggle in the process. And what might be the coolest thing of all is you don't have to put much effort into it. It truly is a cheat code that most people don't know about. And it's a cheat code that can change your life today. So click on the link below and let me help you start to experience these results starting right now.